What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be talking about lever guns. Specifically, lever actions versus semi-autos, or AR-15s in this case. I think the AR-15 is probably the most popular rifle, at least semi-automatic rifle in America currently, and a lever action is just about as American as it gets, so I wanted to compare those two. There's a lot of information out there, especially on the internet, about the difference between lever actions and semi-automatic rifles like an AR-15, and I'm not saying those are wrong, but what I do want to do today is test them. One of the first things that we hear a lot is how slow the lever action is, let's say for something like home defense, right? Realistically, if you're going to use a rifle, you're probably not going to conceal carry it, so you're probably going to use it for home defense or range use, playing around, whatever you want, right? So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a speed test between this rifle and a semi-automatic 22 that I have. And the reason why I'm going with 22, although I have several lever action rifles, a 30-30, a 357, and a 22, I wanted to have the same caliber, and they don't make a lot of AR-15s in 357 or 30-30, so I went with the 22. That way we avoid variables in the speed test like recoil and things like that. The second thing I want to test is I want to shoot them prone. It's pretty well known and documented that one of the reasons why the American military back in the day didn't adopt a lever action rifle is because bolt actions are simply easier to shoot prone. The interesting thing about that is I've never actually shot a lever action rifle prone. So part of this is from my own experience as well. I'll be interested to see, we'll shoot multiple targets again with this rifle and with the AR-15, and we'll see how both of them do in the prone. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is some facts that I can't prove in this range review. The AR-15 usually has a superior caliber. 357 and 30-30 are both great calibers, and I'm probably going to post the ballistics of those calibers versus some of the ballistics of 223 and probably a 308 and AR-10. But the reality is that the ballistics fall short in distance. 30-30 is not known to shoot, what is it, 300 yards, something like that. They say 200 yards, but I think you can shoot further than that. And 357 Magnum 38 Special is a pistol caliber. And the reason why that is because a lever action rifle doesn't have a box magazine. So instead of the round sitting up and spring pressure pushing towards the chamber, it actually has a tubular magazine similar to that of a shotgun. And one of the reasons why you can't have very aerodynamic pointed bullets is because they sit right behind each other in the tube, and it could potentially cause an accidental discharge. Now, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's the information that I know. Another thing that we're going to be testing is we're going to be testing reloads. Now, I have shot a lot of lever actions in my life. I grew up in Iowa. It's kind of a country state, and I'm kind of a country boy. So I've had my hands on a few lever actions in my day, although we didn't do a lot of speed reloads with them. So I'm interested to see, and also instead of a loading port like on a Winchester, the Henry actually has a loading port underneath the tubular magazine. So you have to remove the tube, oh man, what is that called? I don't know what it's called. The rod, the push rod maybe, that goes down on the tubular magazine. You have to remove that and put in shells one at a time, as opposed to the AR-15 where there is a mag release button and you simply reload it and go. So just for the fun of it, I'm aware that the AR-15 is going to be faster, but I just kind of want to see how fast. Now you have to remember, in a self-defense situation like a home invasion or something like that, it's extremely unlikely that you're going to shoot the 7 215 round magazine capacity that your standard lever action has. 7 rounds from, let's say, a 30-30 will end a fight really quickly. 30-30 is well known for its stopping power up close, and engagements in real life are not like they are in the movies. So, without further ado, let's go down and test this rifle next to our Smith & Wesson M&P 22, and we'll see what we come up with. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test the lever action first. We're going to run it on the timer that I have in my belt here, and we're going to shoot 3 rounds into perpetrator A at 10 yards here, and 3 rounds into the second perpetrator we have over there on the left. It's about 15 yards or so, and that is the furthest distance you could ever shoot inside your house. I can't imagine a house that would have a bigger room than, let's say, 45 feet, and if you do, you're rich enough you won't need to watch my video. So 3 rounds into that target, 3 rounds into that target on the timer with the lever action, and then we'll try it with the AR-15. What'd we get?
414. Oh, I'm moving it, but it was 414.
414 for 6 shots on 2 different targets isn't so bad with a gun that was made around the Civil War. So now we're gonna be running our Smith & Wesson 22. This is the M&P 22. And we're gonna be shooting both of our guys again. We're gonna put 3 rounds on each of them on the timer and see how fast we can do that. Now I know some of you guys have seen this rifle before and it usually runs a red dot, but I didn't want to give this rifle any more advantage than it already has. So we'll see how fast we can do it.
.31.
2.31. I think that was what? A second or two faster?
Yep.
Something like that?
Yep, I think the other one was 4 something.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so now what we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna simulate one bad guy, and we're just gonna put 5 rounds out of this lever action here on him as fast as we can, and we'll get a time for that. .334. 334. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put 5 rounds on our single bad guy, and we're gonna see how that goes.
.147.
1.47. Again, pretty quick. Now, is that enough to really make a difference on which gun you decide to choose up close for home defense? I guess I'll just leave that up to you. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a real quick speed reload from an empty chamber here with the AR-15. We'll time that, and we'll time the one with the lever action just for fun. Like I said, in a self-defense situation, it's really unlikely that you're gonna run out of either a 30-round magazine or a 7 to 15, whatever tubular magazine that yours holds, depending on caliber. But we'll do it just for fun, and we'll throw it on the timer, and we'll see what we come up with.
.385.
3.85. So we already did the speed reload with the Smith & Wesson 22 semi-auto, the AR-15 22, and since we did that and we timed it and we got a pretty slick time, we are going to try it with the lever action. Now keep in mind, as I said in the intro, that I've never practiced this, so if it looks ridiculous, at least it should be funny. .45. 40 seconds?
Yeah.
So compared to our, what, 3 seconds or 2 seconds for the AR-15,
yeah,
seems like a little bit much. Now you have to remember that that's kind of the downside of the 22 version of the lever action. You're gonna have guys that run 357 or 44 Magnum Winchesters that have a side loading port that are screaming at their screens right now. But what are you gonna do? You know, cowboy action shooters could probably load 7 rounds into a Winchester almost as fast as an uneducated person could load a box magazine. If you don't believe me, feel free to YouTube those people. However, I am not one of those. As I said, I'm fairly proficient in shooting the lever action, not so proficient at loading the tubular magazine. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna test the old Henry out at 50 yards. We're at the 50-yard line, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same drill we did at 7 yards. We put 3 rounds into one target and 3 rounds into the other target. And the reason why I'm testing it out at 50 yards is because this has a different sighting setup than your average AR-15, which has a set of ghost ring sights that probably most of you are familiar with, whereas this just has a notch, or a post and a notch here, similar to a slightly more advanced pistol sight. Now I know that some lever actions, including my Marlin 3030, has a rear peep sight, but I just want to test it out and see how we do. .867. 8.67, not too bad. so now we're gonna do the same drill with the AR-15.
.79.
So a few seconds faster. So last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna test the effectiveness prone. We're gonna shoot the same drill we just shot 2 times before, except this time we're gonna do it at prone, and we're at about 75 yards. Well, how'd we do?
15.31.
And we'll try that with the AR-15. All right, so one of the benefits that you're gonna see right off the bat with the AR-15 is that A, I don't have to rack the lever, which is kind of cumbersome considering when you're in the prone, you're usually posted on your elbows, so you're kind of flying in the middle of nowhere trying to shoot the lever action. The other advantage that you're gonna have is that you're gonna be able to post off the magazine to make things much quicker and more stable. Now I know some people are gonna say not to shoot off the magazine, and what I can say to that is if you have quality magazines, you have a quality AR-15, you shouldn't have a problem. Well, let's shoot the same drill and we'll find out what happens.
.69.
Significantly faster, and I felt like I was more accurate, simply because I wasn't moving off the sight picture every single time. Just keep the same sight picture, nice, trigger control, and you're good to go. Some of the myths that we talked about earlier definitely held true. I don't really want to call them myths, but just information that I hadn't previously tested out. Loading and unloading the lever action is a bit of a trouble, to say the least. Also, if you get malfunctions in lever action rifles, and they do happen for sure, they are much harder to clear out than they are in a semi-automatic rifle because of the absence of the box magazine. You have to unload every piece of ammunition out of the tube and then deal with the problem from there, which is much easier to do in a box magazine. You could simply hit the magazine release and you're good to go. Now, as far as caliber effectiveness goes, I would say they're pretty equal. Now, you could say 308, which AR-15 calibers come in, or 50 Beowulf or something like that is more effective, but you can't really say that something like a 30-30 or a 44 Magnum, which the lever action comes in, isn't effective, especially for a home defense distance. Like I said before, the caliber downside of the lever action really only starts to hold into play at further distances. Now, I do know that they do make rifle calibers like 308 in lever actions. My dad actually owned one, but they are rare, hard to get, and they do have their own set of problems. As far as the speed advantage though, if you want to go out and speed shoot, the speed advantage is real with the AR-15, and the prone advantage is real with the AR-15. There is a definite reason why the military went with a bolt action over the lever action back in the days of the Civil War and on, and it's very, in my opinion, it's cumbersome to shoot a lever action in the prone. Also, the butt pad of the Henry, although it looks amazing, can be hard on your shoulder as well when you're trying to put it in your shoulder rather quickly. Catch your collarbone on this every once in a while and you'll think twice about it. The sights are another issue, but easily remedied. You can get Peep sights like are on my 30-30 Marlin and you're good to go there. However, adding a red dot and stuff like that and the modularity of the AR-15 is another big plus that I didn't talk about. Now, if I were to hand either of these rifles to my wife, you could quickly see that she could adjust the stock on the AR-15, and there is no adjusting the stock on the Henry. It is what it is. As far as self-defense goes, I would have to say though that either one of these rifles I personally think would work great, and the lever action might actually be a better option if you consider after you shoot that person that's breaking in your house, you're gonna have to stand in front of a courtroom where they hold up the rifle or weapon that you used, and in the case of this, the lawyer could potentially paint you as a crazy person, whereas this, you just look like you'll watch a lot of Western movies. This has been the Honest Outlaw here, doing a pretty unscientific, but at least fun for me, test. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, share, it really helps me out. I usually leave a link to a local homeless shelter in Ames, Iowa in the description of my videos. If you want to click on that link, it brings you right to the donate page, and you could donate to those kids because they could really use your support. Thanks, I'll see you later. People say lever actions never malfunction.
And yet it did.
And that's the end of this video.